Shea Stadium. You know, the sun is shining. It's really a beautiful day compared to what we've been having in New York and in Pittsburgh and in Chicago. So today it is closer to baseball weather than any time previously. The Cubs are going for the sweep. Young Mike Harkey draws a tartar of an opponent. Doc Gooden going for the New York Mets. I'll be back with the lineups in just a moment. Beautiful day for baseball, and the fans are arriving here at Shea Stadium. Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone and Tom Brenneman from Shea Stadium. Here are the lineups for today's game. The Cubs, Walton center, Sandberg at second, Smith in left, Grace at first, Dawson in right, Ramos at third, Dunston the shortstop, Girardi the catcher, and Mike Harkey going for his second victory of the year and of his major league career, by the way. Harkey the pitcher. For the Mets, Jeffries in second, Miller in center, Johnson at third, Strawberry in right, Carry-On in left, Magadan at first, Lyons at catcher, Elster playing short, and Dwight Gooden, who has been beaten twice, whose earned run average going into the ballgame today for the year is 11.74. The umpire is Bruce Fremming behind the plate. Frank Pulley at first, Steve Ripley at second, and Gary Darling at third. And we're about ready to play. By the way, Bruce Fremming, who's working the plate today, along with Joe Brinkman of the American League, has started an umpiring school at Cocoa, Florida. Here's the defense of the Mets. Lyons behind the plate, good pitching. Carry-On in left, Miller, who's had trouble playing center, and Strawberry. There you see the infield. We're waiting for the Mets to take the field. A limited schedule, most of them being played tonight.
When you take a look at the numbers of Dwight Gooden, they are staggering. He's 141 lifetime as far as wins and losses. The lifetime ERA of 2.64. He's got 19 shutouts and 52 complete games, and all of this achieved before his 25th birthday. He has been a magnificent pitcher for the New York Mets, despite the fact that he spent 2 long stints on the disabled list, once April through June of '87 and once July through September of '89.
Here go the Mets onto the field. And Doc Gooden will be taking his warm-up tosses.
The Mets, to a man, say there's nothing wrong with the velocity of Doc Gooden, that he had a very good spring. He's been timed at 94, 95 miles an hour with the fastball, but the location has not been there. And when you look at that ERA, it's hard to believe that Dwight Gooden's name is on top of it.
You know, Jerome Walton will be leading off in a moment. In the first 2 games of this series, he's been on base 7 times. And the other game played in which the Mets beat the Cubs in Chicago, he was also on base twice. So in the 3 games, he's been on base either with a hit or a walk 9 different times. Now, that's a good leadoff man.
And he'll have to be a good leadoff man today, because Doc Gooden gets up for the Cubs. Last year, he started 3 times against them. He was 3-0 with a 3.68 ERA, and lifetime against the Cubs, you see it right there, 18-3. The last time the Cubs beat him was back in August of 1987.
There we got some minor league notes. The Chicago high school star of a few years ago, Eric Pappas, hitting .323 at Iowa, had a double and a homer last night and an RBI. And I guess Pappas is this year's new Lloyd McClendon. He plays a lot of positions, and the thing he does well is hit. All right, Gooden is ready to face Jerome Walton. The Cubs won 8-6 in 13 innings the first game. They won 8-5 last night.
Number 1, center fielder Jerome Walton.
Dave Magadan is playing over at first base today. Mike Marshall was hit on the arm by Greg Maddux yesterday, and it stiffened up on him. The infield still a little suspect defensively behind Dwight Gooden, who does give you the stolen base if you can get on against him.
The first pitch of the ball game. The dandy. How could we 0-2 throwing stuff like that?
It's not good news that he got the first breaking ball over the plate, because generally when he does that, he is tough to hit.
Curve again. 0-2. Another curveball right over the center of the plate. And Walt now is behind on the count. Fastball low and away. You're going to be hearing the drone of those airplane motors all day long. Foul back out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Last year, Doc Gooden had a slight tear in the back of his right shoulder, and it put him on the shelf for nearly 3 months. The Mets very concerned about their ace going on the disabled list and wondered if he'd come back with the same velocity. He has.
Ground ball, deep shot. There's the throw in time. Nice play by Kevin Elster. He had to move to his right, fielded the ball perfectly.
Elster is the one dependable glove the Mets have in that infield. They're suspect at third because of Johnson's throwing. Jeffries has not really adapted to second base yet, although he's gotten a little better. And Magadan is an offensive rather than a defensive first baseman, but Elster can pick it.
1 man out. Here's Ryan Sandberg. 1 out of 10 in the series. That hit came last night and started the big rally in the 7th inning to produce 5 runs. Which was highlighted by Marvell Wynn's 4-run triple. 1 out, nobody on. Swung and he tripled with the bases loaded, driving into 3 runs, and then scored a moment later on a sacrifice fly.
That was a straight change by Gooden, and you just don't see that pitch very often from him.
Fastball high and inside. Baltimore leading Detroit 2-0 at the end of 1. 1 out, nobody on. Guy swings and misses a sharp breaking curve. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Gooden's breaking ball is right up over the top. He's resisted the temptation, like David Cohn, to throw sidearm. As you take a look at Mike Marshall, who despite those 2 home runs is nursing a sore arm today.
Bouncing ball. Howard Johnson, low throw, but Magadan comes up with it. How about that? Magadan came up with a 1-bounce throw.
Dave Magadan saves Howard Johnson another error. This has been the problem with Johnson so far in the early going. Tremendous inconsistency. This ball hops far enough away from Magadan for him to make the play. He stays right with it.
Here's Brian Smith. Had a base hit last night. Away to a slow start.
Eventually, he will start bunting the ball up the right side, especially if they play him as deep as they are here.
A high pop fly on the infield. Kevin Elster chases Howard Johnson away and makes the catch in foul territory. 1, 2, 3. They go in the bottom of the first, no score.
Remind you about team spirit. Team stands for techniques for effective alcohol management.
Harry Carey and Steve Stone has been going the bottom of the first.
Leading off for the New York Mets.
Greg Jeffries will lead it off. Here's the Cubs defense for you.
Mike Harkey with a better than average major league fastball, and Joe Girardi, his catcher, says he really has to have control of it because he considers his breaking stuff, at least to this point, just about major league average on the curveball and slider.
Fastball low and outside. Boy, the game here in New York started at 3:05 today. Tomorrow in Chicago, game time 2:20. There's the strike call. The following night, Saturday night, a night game 7:05. Sunday, a 1:20 game. Two balls and a strike. Jeffrey hitting .324 with one homer, a switch hitter.
To this point, he's been much better from the left side, hitting .381 as opposed to .250 as a right-hand hitter.
He had a good cut. That evens it up 2-2.
Harkey had a most impressive first outing against the Pirates, going 6 innings, giving up 5 hits and 1 earned run. And the big column in that one, only 1 base on balls, as he recorded his first major league win.
2 balls, 2 strikes. The Paris family is here from Chicago and Summit, Illinois. Struck him out, a fastball. Jeffries called out on strike. When Harkey won this year, it was his first major league victory. The year before last, he was 0-3, but pitched very good baseball every time out. Here's Keith Miller. Curveball high.
I assume somewhere during the course of this ball game, Miller is going to try to lay down a bunt and see if 6'5", 230-pound Mike Harkey can bounce off the mound. There you look at the pitching toe of Mike Harkey and how he digs in, wearing that tough toe, as they call it, away from the right shoe.
He fouls a pitch off. Speedy recovery wish to Tom Wynn of Newport Richey, Florida. And birthday greetings to Pete Wynn on the Bowling Air Force Base in Washington. Two balls and a strike. Ground ball. Sandberg throws him out. Sandberg is working on his 99th game in a row without an error. He's already gone 98 times. He set a new record for an infielder. 2 out. Howard Johnson.
That last pitch was a very good one. Keith Miller, looking away, got jammed with the fastball, and that serves notice to the Met hitters that Mike Harkey is not afraid to come inside and bust him off the plate.
There's a fastball inside. Simer and Joe Pilkus, Long Island fans of the Cubs, watching the ball game. Found it out of play.
Mike Harkey went to winter ball in Venezuela, and he said he wanted to work on his changeup and his breaking ball. So he got some work down there. He went to the Arizona Instructional League in October to get a little extra work there. And he's known as a man with a good work ethic. He runs hard, he works hard, he wants to keep himself in good shape. And he feels this is his year, coming back from knee and shoulder problems that plagued him all last year.
1 ball, 1 strike. High pop foul out of play into the stand. Domingo Ramos playing third for the Cubs. Dunstan's at short. Sandberg at second. Grace at first. Girardi catching. Mike Harkey pitching. Dwight Smith on left. Walton in center. And Dawson in right. Two out, nobody on. He struck him out, a fastball. Over the outside corner, 1-2-3. At the end of one, no score. To lead it off, no score. Grace hitting 300. Strike called, a good fastball. The wind blowing in from right field.
Gooden sailed through the first inning of his last two starts, but had problems in the second inning both times.
There's a curveball low and inside. Gooden retired. Walton, Sandberg, and Smith in a row. Bouncing ball. That'll be easy. Jeffries peg. In time, 4 in a row. But Harkey also has retired 3 in a row. 2 of them on strikes. Ordinarily, you'd expect Gooden to get the strikeouts.
Dwight Gooden burst on the scene in 1984. He was 17-9 that year with a spectacular .260 ERA. But the next year, 1985, found him 24-4 with a minuscule 153 earned run average, something he hasn't come close to matching since.
One man out. A little bit low to Andre Dawson, hitting .333. He's had 2 out of 4 in this series. 1 homer, 6 RBI. A high pop fly on the infield. Elster's back on the grass. 5 in a row retired. There's Domingo Ramos.
Everybody wants to know what happened to Dwight Gooden as far as the fastball is concerned, because the strikeouts seem to diminish with every passing year. 276 his first year, 268, then 200. In the last 3 years, nothing over 175 for the season.
There's the pitch, a little bit low. 1 home run's been hit off Gooden this new season. Swung and he fouled it back. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 men around. Top of the second. Beautiful strike. Boy, what a great overhanded curveball he has.
Seems to have everything together today, and you know it's only a matter of time until he gets things worked out.
Whoa! Boy, he knocked Ramos down with that one.
I would think that would set up the next hook fairly well. When a guy throws 195 and it's right behind your batting helmet, you have a tendency not to lean out over the plate on the next pitch. Ramos showing he still has those good reflexes. He just crumples beneath this bullet-like fastball.
2 balls, 2 strikes. A little tap. He's got a chance to beat it out, and he does. So Doc Gooden cannot pitch a no-hitter today.
That shows you some bravery on the part of Domingo Ramos. After the knockdown, he stays in on the breaking ball. Now, granted, Gooden left this breaking ball over the inside part of the plate, but nonetheless, Ramos comes up with a base hit, even though it's a bit of a cheapie. No chance for Johnson, who with 2 strikes is playing Domingo back.
And here is Sean Dunston, 1 out of 9 in the series. Fastball low and away. Joe Girardi would be next. 2 out. A runner at first.
The key for Sean Dunston is to lay off the high Gooden fastball. He will hit his breaking ball if it's in the strike zone, and he wants to get ahead of Gooden and make him come to him with a fastball down around the knees.
High fastball. Ball 2. Girardi would be next.
Gooden's had problems since coming in the league with holding runners close at first, but Domingo Ramos is not the man to best take advantage of that. He has just adequate speed.
2 balls, no strikes. Ball 3. 3 balls, no strikes, 2 out. Dunston got his first RBI last night.
He's on the verge of drawing his first walk of the year.
Strike call. The verge is not as big as it was a moment ago.
No. But he's still ahead of Gooden. He's got to pick out a nice spot where he wants this fastball. Anything else, you shouldn't be swinging at it.
There goes a runner. Pitch foul, out of play. 3-2 now.
Opening night of this series, they tried to run Barry Lyons out of the ballpark, and he wound up throwing 2 balls into center field.
There's an interesting stat. Cubs have 8 stolen bases against the Mets in the 2 games of the series. There goes Ramos. Fouled it back. 3-2. I think Dunston would, well, most hitters have trouble with a fastball like Gooden throws.
If he gets that fastball in on the hands, it is very difficult to get at the head of the bat through the strike zone quickly enough. But even Gooden, if he doesn't make a good pitch, will find that 95-mile-an-hour fastball turned around by some of these better fastball hitters.
3 balls, 2 strikes. There goes Ramos. Struck him out. Dunston goes down swinging. There's Gooden's first strikeout. 1 hit, 1 left. We go in the bottom of the 2nd, no score. Harry back in the ballpark. We go in the bottom of the 2nd. Here's Strawberry, who got his first homer of the year last night. Fastball low and away.
It takes some of the thump out of this lineup with McReynolds and Mike Marshall on the shelf. McReynolds still day-to-day with a sprained thumb, and Marshall hit by Maddox yesterday.
There's ball 2, low and outside. Strawberry hitting .313. 1 homer, 6 RBIs. He had a cut and he fouled it back.
That got a piece of Bruce Fremming behind the plate, and that can't feel too good. The last place you want to be on Darryl Strawberry is having to come to him with a fastball after falling behind, and that's where Mike Harkey finds himself.
Well, it really looks like the baseball season today. Bruce Fremming working without a jacket and short sleeves. That evens it up 2-2.
Dave Johnson, the manager of the Mets, feels that Darryl Strawberry is in for a renaissance year. This club is built around Strawberry and Jeffries. If both of those fellows hit the ball well, the Mets will score a lot of runs.
Ground ball. Sandberg has it. 1 away. The ball was well hit.
Bud Harrelson brought out an interesting point about Ryne Sandberg. Harrelson, the infield coach of the Mets, said that Rhino always has the glove in position. Even when he moves to his right and left, that glove is always in front of him, ready to make the play. And he always keeps the glove down and comes up with a hop instead of holding the glove high and have to go down with it.
Last error he made was June 20th last year. high pop foul. Mark Grace coming over under the ball, makes the catch. 5 in a row retired by Harkey.
Much easier play for Mark Grace than it is for Joe Girardi. So as soon as the ball went up, Girardi was looking at Mark to see if he had a shot. He did. Girardi gave way, and the out was recorded easily.
So Mark Carrion fouled out. Here is Dave Magadan, 0 for 4 last night. Listen to this stat. Sandberg has played 1,091 games at second base in the major league. Of the 1,091 games totally that he's played, 1,030 games were errorless. One ball, no strikes. There's a good pitch.
Magadan is literally a man without a position on this Met ball club. He's going to fill in where he's needed, but has never been able to really establish himself. He thought he'd get a shot at first with the departure of Keith Hernandez, then the trade for Mike Marshall, so it hasn't worked out well for him.
Curveball outside. The consecutive chances handled without an error by second baseman is 479. There's a high pop foul out of play. Already, Sandberg has 467. Well, 12 chances away from another record.
And when he accomplishes that, Manny Trio, as well as Jim Davenport, will go by the boards as far as the record book.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out.
Magadan hit .286 last year, so he can hit, and his strongest point as a hitter is using the whole field.
A full count. Only one other game underway. There's a base hit like a bullet. Magadan drilled a single to right. That brings up Barry Lyons at catcher. Each team with a hit now.
The catcher, number 33.
Lyons hitting .214 for the year.
Lyons is having some problems throwing the ball to second base, despite the fact that he's got a good, strong arm. So he sought out a little advice from one of your friends, Harry, Tim McCarver, longtime catcher and a man who certainly knows the position, telling Lyons about footwork behind the plate before the game.
2 out. Runner at first. Fastball high. Barry Lyons will be 30 in June. Out of Biloxi, Mississippi. Fouled it. Count is evened up.
Magadan had 1 stolen base last year. And the same that holds true for Dwight Gooden can be said about Mike Harkey. He's a big man with a long, slow delivery, and he's tried to speed up that delivery home by using a lower leg kick. But at 6'5", being a lot of arms and elbows, it takes a while to deliver the ball.
Curve is a dandy. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 men out. No score, each team with a hit. He struck him out with a curveball. 1 hit, 1 left. At the end of 2, no score. Steve Stone back to the ballpark in New York. No score at the end of 2. There's Girardi, a ground ball. Jeffrey has it over to first in time. Jeffries had him played perfectly over near second. 1 out.
Dwight Gooden is not falling into that pattern of trying to sneak ahead with the fastball. That time he started Girardi out with a good hook, and Joe stayed right with it. So Girardi off to a very good start. Said before the game he's not intimidated by Gooden. but he will have to turn it up a notch on the fastball today, as Dwight is throwing awfully hard.
Harkey is fan 3, Gooden is fan 1. Each man has given up a hit. There's a strike call. The Cub hit was a swinging bunt. Ramos swung hard and dribbled a little roller down the third baseline. 0-2.
Last 2 times out, Gooden has had good control walk-wise. He's only walked 3 men in the 2 starts. But he was wild in the strike zone, and sometimes that's more dangerous than the base on balls.
High foul ball out of play. About 20,000 here today. The first reasonably good day for a ball game. Fastball high. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 1 man out. 23-year-old Mike Harkey is the hitter. He struck him out. Strikeout number 2 for Gooden.
The everyday player has a whale of a time trying to hit that breaking ball, but an opposing pitcher has absolutely no shot at the good Gooden curveball.
Here's Walton now. Bounced out his first time up. No score. We're in the 3rd. There's a fastball high and outside. Dwight Gooden, 25 years old. Still makes his home in Tampa, Florida. The pitch inside. Actually, he was born in Tampa. They say he now lives in St. Petersburg. 2 balls, no strikes. Ball 3 is high.
Sean Dunston also worked Gooden to 3-0, but he's a little less patient than Jerome.
3 balls, no strikes. He walked him. And Jerome Walton draws the base on ball.
Dave Johnson does not like to pitch out often, but it might not be a bad idea in this situation with Walton up there. He is a good base runner with 3 stolen bases.
It's been a long time since we saw a shadow. Shadow means the sun is shining. Pitch out. Strikes. Sandberg bounced out his first time up. Bouncing ball over the first to retire the side. 1 man left. We go in the bottom of the 3rd, no score. Harry Carey and Steve Stone as we go into the bottom of the 3rd, no score. Elster fouls the first pitch back. Elster hitting only .069.
Dave Johnson views him as a potential team leader. With Gary Carter and Keith Hernandez no longer around, the Mets are going to need a player who has the intensity of Elster to start producing and take command of this club. And you can do it as a middle infielder.
Come on, how are you going to do it hitting .06?
You are not going to do it. That's why he has to start producing.
Hello, Nick Coletti, 57-year-old publicity director. Here's a pitch foul back. What's new, Ned?
Not much here. How you doing?
Okay. Hey, I see the Greek boy Eric Pappas hitting pretty well for Iowa.
Yeah, he's off to a great start. They're playing him all over the place, and he's hitting well. You never know. He may get a shot up here before it's over.
This year's Lloyd McClendon.
You're right.
Here's the curve outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yes, but are the Hawks going to beat the Blues Friday night?
Well, I don't know about that. They got their hands full right now. They better win Friday night.
2-2 pitch. A high pop foul. Girardi. It's in the stands. 2-2.
Mike Harkey showed absolutely a great breaking ball when he fanned Barry Lyons to end the 2nd inning. And if he gets that one over the plate, he is going to be tough all season. That really is the key to Harkey. You know the fastball's good enough. If he gets the curve over and has to get some respect from the hitters on that pitch, he's going to be in great shape.
And I tell you another kid that's really looked great, Joe Kramer. He too has for a southpaw. He struck him out on a foul tip. Elster goes down swinging. Strikeout number 4 for young Mike Harkey.
You've been saying all along, Harry, that it would be a great break for the Cubs if Kramer were to establish himself, because then it gives Don Zimmer some flexibility out of the bullpen. And he's throwing the ball pretty well in the early going.
Here's Dwight Gooden, a good hitting pitcher, takes a strike call. There's a bouncing ball. Sandberg has it over the first in time. 2 up, 2 down. And here is Greg Jeffries, the second baseman.
Barring some sort of an injury, this young man is going to hit 300 this year. He went through all his trials and travails the first part of last year. A lot of pressure on him. He got off to a slow start. He was confused at bat, but he's a hard worker. And about halfway through the season, he started to come of age. He's only going to get better. And everybody in the Met organization feels that he could be their best pure hitter on the ball club.
2 men out, nobody on. Fastball low. 1 ball, no strikes. Bottom of the 3rd. A little bit high, ball 2. Be careful now. He'll be sitting on a fastball. He was. A line drive, and Dawson makes a fine catch. Jeffries lined hard. The ball hung up, and Dawson came in and grabbed it. 1, 2, 3. Tom Brennan will be coming along in a moment. Harry Carey from New York. At the end of 3, no score.
And Steve Stone, Tom Brenneman back at Shea Stadium in New York, and pretty good pitching on both sides so far.
Mike Harkey is going to have to be very tough because Dwight Gooden seems to have everything together. And the key to both of these pitchers, Tom, is the ability to get the breaking ball over the plate. So far, they both have.
Seems like also, Steve, that Harkey is a bit more fluid than he was perhaps in that first start in terms of his delivery.
I think that he feels a lot more comfortable. It's a very emotional start, the first start of the year, and he got off to a very good start. And today, he's throwing the ball exceptionally well. He's got good pop on the fastball.
It'll be Dwight Smith, Mark Grace, and Andre Dawson here in the inning against Gooden, and the count now goes to 2-1 on Smith, who popped up to the shortstop Elster his first trip. Smitty has had a lot of success, though, here at Shea, batting .417 last year. 2-2.
Fortunately, most of those at-bats were not against Dwight Gooden. So Dwight on Dwight is going to have to tune it up some.
Hey, by the way, I want to bring up with you while I'm over here for a little while this debate you had in the media room before the game with Ed Vargo and Bob Brenly. Count goes to 3-2 on Smitty.
Well, you know, those umpires and catchers, they always want to tell you that the plate's too big.
And, of course, you being a pitcher didn't happen to agree with that. Ball 4 sends Smith down to first base. A second walk for Gooden. Is that right?
Well, I agreed with the one man who booted Bob Brenly out of a game in his long and illustrious major league career, and that is the late Lee Wire, who was a wonderful man and had a world of friends in all of baseball. But Lee used to draw a line around home plate. He used to expand the plate. He had a huge strike zone. a pitcher's strike zone, which I feel is a fair strike zone.
I'm sure you do. Mark Grace hit a ground ball to Greg Jeffries his first trip. Cubs have their leadoff runner aboard for the first time in this game, 1-0 on Grace.
You've got to figure with a left-hander up in Mark Grace, Don Zimmer is going to try something. Either a hit and run and you have a 1-ball count, odds are a pitch out is not coming, or a straight steal with Dwight Smith, good speed, and Barry Lyons struggling throwing the ball.
Throw over to first and back safely is Smitty. Count still 1-0 on Grace.
Dwight Gooden has done everything he can with his motion to try to speed it up, but the reality of it is he just doesn't have good stuff with a low leg kick. So he's gone back to the regular leg kick, and it gives any base runner a couple of extra steps.
Smitty, pretty good speed over there at first. And the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike on Mark Grace. Gorgeous day for baseball here today. This is one of the few we've had in this very brief 1990 season.
It's deplaying, boss.
It's deplaying, indeed. Smitty leading over at first. And that'll reach the seats to send the count to 1 ball and 2 strikes.
You want to put as much pressure as you can on Barry Lyons, who thus far has 4 throwing errors, 2 the first night of the series. And he's had his problems. He's been trying to work with his footwork. That's the whole key to getting the ball to second base. And you want to make sure you tuck the left shoulder in. It's almost like a pitcher. If you leave the left shoulder fly open, you have nothing left on the throw.
20 runners have tried to steal a base against the Mets this season, and 19 of them have been successful. Now, of course, the percentages have been cut dramatically as to what catchers are able to do in this day and age. It seems it gets less and less in terms of runners thrown out every year, but that is a miserable mark. Dwight Smith at first, nobody out. It's 1-2 on Mark Grace.
Last year, Bob Boone in the American League threw out close to 42% of the base runners who try to steal against him. And the reason he was able to do it was the transfer of the ball and getting it up on the right side as quickly as anybody in the game since perhaps Johnny Bench. Bench did it better than anyone. Of course, he could overpower the ball, but he was very quick getting the ball into the throwing position.
1-2 to Grace. Smith on the run. And again, it will reach the seats third base side, so Smith will have to come back to first, and the count remains at 1-2.
There's been some catchers who throw the ball from whatever position they catch it in. My late roommate, Thurman Munson, who I threw to in college and later starred with the New York Yankees, if he'd catch the ball low and away at the shoe tops, that's how he'd throw it to second base. He was as quick as any catcher around, but he didn't have the velocity or the accuracy of Johnny Bench or Bob Boone.
Well, let's see if Zimmer has something going here again as Smith took off running on the last pitch. 1-2 to Grace. Nobody out. Yes, he does go. And Grace just wasting a few good pitches from Gooden.
Mark Grace, an excellent handler of the bat, and this man is difficult to fan. In fact, he's only struck out twice in 30 at-bats. You might see that Gooden breaking ball if Dave Johnson doesn't decide to pitch out on this pitch, which is always a possibility.
Grace struck out just 42 times in 510 at-bats last year. So he's a tough man to get on strikes. Thought something was happening to even it up at 2-2.
Now Mark Grace has got Dwight Gooden where he wants him. He's not going to pitch out here after the pitch out, so you're likely to see Dwight Smith try it one more time.
Grace checking in with third base coach Chuck Cottier. Over at first for the Cubs, Jose Martinez. Grace has collected his only 2 RBIs in each of the games of this series. Had one on Tuesday night. And there goes a lot of work. One last night. The runner will advance as Smith was off with a pitch. So a runner in scoring position for the first time today as Grace is retired 4-3.
A lot of you folks out there don't realize that Tom Brenneman has a computer at home, and he spends hours and hours putting down all these pithy anecdotes on computerized sheets. Well, one of them just blew out of the booth.
And I'm sure it will not go to good use in the stands here at Shea Stadium. Well, back we'll have to go in Chicago tonight, I reckon. One down, Smith at second. Andre Dawson, who popped out to the shortstop Elster in the second inning. Nothing in one.
Interesting combination for the New York Mets. They lead all of baseball in strikeouts, and they lead all of baseball in errors. And Ron Darling before the game said, everybody thinks we've got the greatest pitching around. He said, listen, if this defense doesn't get a whole lot better, it's going to affect the whole pitching staff. You have got to field the ball consistently.
0-1 delivery to Dawson, evens it up in 1-1. And to be honest about it, last night's ball game doesn't even reflect how bad it really is. Two of the runs that were charged to David Cone should never have come about for the Cubs in that very first inning. You have a runner at second base. Gross hits a deep, pretty much routine fly ball. Miller loses it. It goes for a ground rule double. The Cubs get two in the inning. Smith is going to try for third. And he is a dead duck.
This is just a terrible base running play by Dwight Smith. The rule of thumb for any base runner already in scoring position at second base, if the ball is hit in front of you, you can't go. This is hit right at Elster and right in front of Dwight Smith. He decides to take off, and he's got absolutely no chance. Number one, it's the most dependable fielder the Mets have, so he's tagged out easily.
Andre Dawson over at first, two down now in the inning. As Smith, a base running blunder, thinking about advancing from second to third on a ball hit right in front of him. Domingo Ramos, an infield hit in the second inning. 1-0.
What makes it doubly tough for the Cubs is that you don't get many shots at Dwight Gooden. You've already got a man at second base. And now it's going to take either a ringing double or a couple of hits to score Andre Dawson.
Andre taking his lead over at first base. 1-0 the count. And it'll get through into right field for a base hit, but Dawson will have to put on the brakes at second. So there's the perfect example of what Smith's base running blunder happened. Possibly could have been a run.
The ball wasn't hit very hard, and with the speed of Dwight Smith, he might have been able to score, although Strawberry was fairly shallow for Ramos. So now the pressure falls to Sean Dunston, who was a strikeout victim back in the second.
Dunston's had a pretty rough series. Hitless last night, though he did have a sac fly RBI after going 1 for 6 in the first game. Dunston fanned his first trip against Gooden. 2 on, 2 out. Nothing in 1.
I believe in a roundabout way, the greatest nemesis of Cub hitters with Gooden is the strongest factor with Sean Dunston. Gooden's curveball is outstanding, and most of the hitters have all kinds of problems with it. But Sean Dunston is a very good breaking ball hitter, and if he does get a curveball for a strike, that's probably the pitch he'll hit the hardest.
Dunston hit .305 against the Mets last season. An appeal down to first base and nothing doing, says Frank Pulley. 1-1. Boy, it's amazing the difference of Sean Dunston's totals in terms of average, hitting at home .307 and .252 on the road. The pitch hit well, but Miller will have a play. Whoa. Every ball almost turns into an adventure with this defense in the inning. No runs ahead, 2 left. Middle of the fourth, no score. At Shea Stadium in New York, no score. Harkey and Gooden have been pretty tough. The Mets only have a couple of base hits. And the Mets have one off Mike Harkey. He retired the first 5 he faced, and now has knocked down the last 4.
4 strikeouts for Mike Harkey. Once again, the big column, no bases on balls for the big guy. He's gotten everything over the plate. Domingo Ramos will play close to take the bunt away from Keith Miller.
Miller bounced to second in the first inning. Here's a pitch from Harkey, and it's away 1-0.
You've got to believe there's a lot of pressure on this young man. Handed a center field job after the departure of Mookie Wilson and Len Dykstra, only to find himself struggling desperately in the outfield.
He was lucky he made that last catch. His account goes to 2-0 there to end the inning. I don't know if the wind had anything to do with it or perhaps the late sunshine, but he was lucky to make that basket catch. It was funny last night sitting in the writer's box while Harry was doing the majority of the call on radio. As soon as he botched that ball in the first inning, one of the guys stood up and screamed, "Juan Samuel lives."
Well, Samuel has got the job in Los Angeles. He said he prefers second base. This young man prefers center field. We'll have to see if he adjusts.
Harkey missed on 4 straight. His first walk of the afternoon, and Miller a leadoff runner here in the 4th inning.
Miller has stolen 4 bases this year, has not been caught. The Mets as a team, it's not a fast team overall, but they're 9 out of 10 in the stolen base department. Their opponents 19 out of 20, so they've been outrun to this point.
Howard Johnson, of his 8 RBIs this season, 6 of them have come against Cubs pitching. And 2 of his home runs, along with 6 of those 8 RBIs, have come from the left side of the plate. I don't think there's any doubt he is certainly a more proficient hitter from that side than the right.
It's unusual, Tom, because he's a natural right-hand hitter with much more pop as a left-hand hitter.
That one gets away from Girardi, and it hit time cross-up.
It hit Bruce Fleming. Otherwise, that ball goes to the screen, and Bruce is wondering what's going on. Girardi moved out for a pitch out. The pitch was right down the middle and caught Bruce Fleming flush. Watch it again. You very rarely, if ever, will see this. Look at this. Catching Bruce, and he's shaken up.
Mets trainer out to take a look at him, and we certainly hope he's all right. He is very disgusted by the way that whole event occurred.
That's Steve Garland out there, the Mets trainer. Bruce, not a very happy man right now. And nobody in the ballpark hoping more than Bruce Fleming that Harkey understands the pitch out sign.
Well, everybody in the ballpark knew it was on, with the exception of the guy throwing the baseball.
The fortunate occurrence for the Cubs is the fact that it didn't get away, and Keith Miller is still at first.
So Bruce appears to be okay. Taking a couple of more deep breaths before we get it back going again. Dunston still chatting with Harkey, and now that meeting has come to an end. They'll take a few of those, not exactly in that way, but they take a whole bunch during the course of a season. Johnson fan looking his first trip, and the count is now 2-0 to him. Normally he hasn't thrown a strike to start the inning.
Normally, with a power hitter like Johnson, you don't anticipate the stolen base. I think Miller is just feeling his way and seeing how many steps he can get. It was a false move last time, but I expect him to be going.
Harkey a check of the runner. And there's a strike, 2-1. Not a bad pitch here.
Now here is the pitch that if he's going to run, he'll run. So if you can throw it by Johnson, Girardi might be able to cut down Miller at second.
Miller not a very good lead over there at first. He's not going, and there's a breaking ball just away. So an ideal hitter's pitch right now, 3-1 to a guy who's capable of leaving the yard. No score here in the bottom of the 4th. The Mets a leadoff runner on. Nobody out. There goes a runner. Grace's only play is at first, so in essence they get the job done, advancing Miller on to second base for Darryl Strawberry.
Tom, this will be where a young pitcher matures. Now you'll see many young pitchers go sailing along as long as they're in the windup. But as soon as they get a man on to lead off an inning, sometimes it's difficult for a young pitcher to turn off the opposition. Mike Harkey, with the leadoff base runner and Keith Miller, now finds himself in a tough spot, knowing that he just can't give up too much against Dwight Gooden.
They're not even going to bother with Darryl Strawberry. He's going to get the intentional pass down to first base, and they'll take their chances with Mark Carrion.
Carrion has not grounded into a double play yet. But there's always a first time for those things.
There's a first time for everything. And there is ball 4 to the Mets right fielder. Miller down at second base. Strawberry now at first. Only one down in the inning for Carrion, who popped in foul ground to grace his first trip.
Carrion said it was a tough year for him last year. He found himself in the weight room every day, wondering if he'd ever get a chance to play. All he did was hit 4 pinch hit homers, and now getting a chance with Kevin McReynolds on the shelf.
Had 2 hits and an RBI on Tuesday, breaking ball in. And then at Wrigley Field on Monday, drove in 3 runs on 3 hits, including a 2-run dinger.
Carrion is very strong, especially if you miss on the inside part of the plate. He can bring those hands in and still generate a lot of power.
2 on, 1 out, 1-0 to Carrion. Here it is. And it got him. Well, Steve, you set it up. The youngster goes from the stretch, and that one clearly got away from him after the first pitch wasn't close.
Those are the only 2 bad pitches he's thrown today. These 2 breaking balls to Carrion. He just completely loses grip on this, and now he finds himself in a big hole because he's got a quality hitter up in Magadan who doesn't fan often. Doesn't have a whole lot of power, but makes contact.
So Dave Magadan, with the bases loaded, stepping in there. No score here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 1 down. Cubs infield looking for the double play. And 0-1. Good pitch.
Mike Harkey will learn before it's over. You can get more people out taking something off the ball than putting something on. If his natural fastball is 92, maybe if he tries to squeeze the sawdust out of it, he can get it up to 93 or 4. But if you can make a 7 or 8 mile disparity between your fastball and another straight change, you can get some people out.
Count even to Magadan at 1-1. Keith Miller at third base. Darryl Strawberry at second. And over at first after getting hit by the pitch is Mark Carrion. Only 1 down. Cubs looking for the sweep. It would be the first time since 1983 here at Shea Stadium. 2-1.
This is a good combination for 2. Carrion doesn't run real well, and so he won't be able to get down and break it up if the ball is hard hit. And Magadan doesn't have great speed. It'll be tough for him to beat the relay. So if Harkey can induce the ground ball, he can get out of the inning.
Crowd coming alive at Shea, looking for something to cheer about in this 3-game set. It's been pretty idle the first 2, and now it's all of a sudden big-time trouble at 3 balls and a strike with the bases loaded. Harkey was working everything low coming into this inning, but all of a sudden it's gotten upstairs. 3-1. The sacks are full. Scoreless game with 1 down here in the bottom of the 4th. It'll get a run home. Coming to third is Strawberry. Scoring is Miller. Sac fly RBI for Dave Magadan. And the Mets lead 1-0.
Mike Cubbage is talking with Carrion about advancing once this ball gets by Dunston. This is not a good play by Smith in left field. You want to get this ball into second base. Strawberry's got great speed. You're not going to throw him out at third. And once the ball gets by Dunston, a good base runner at first is going to go on to second base.
Jeff Pico cranking it up down in the Cubs bullpen. 2 down now in the inning. And Harkey would love to escape here in the 4th with just giving up 1 run. No base hits in the inning at all. He walked Miller, who advanced to second on Johnson's ground out, intentionally walked Strawberry, hit Carry-On, and now a sac fly RBI.
Shades of Rick Sutcliffe, who has equal success with that move. There's Rick, probably proud of one of his proteges.
1-0. Of course, Sutcliffe threw yesterday, and all reports from the guys who had to bat against him, and in talking with Sutcliffe, he felt very good and felt after the first couple of innings in that simulated game here at Shea, started to crank it up pretty well.
It's good news as far as the Cubs are concerned.
He is scheduled to come off the DL Saturday. Now, whether or not he'll be actually ready to pitch by then, he'll tell you yeah, but he'll also concede that he may need another simulated game or perhaps even a start in minor league baseball.
Now you've found Harkey in a tough position to a good fastball hitter, having to come to him with it.
2-0 pitch. Took a good cut, but he was late. 2-1. Lyons has a pair of home runs this season. His career high in the big leagues is 4. So he's halfway home. Runners at first and third with 2 down, and the Mets in front 1-0. 3-1, and if Elster, or rather if Lyons should happen to reach, it'll be Kevin Elster who waits on deck. Runners at first and third, 2 outs. Mets have 1 in the inning. Here's a 3-1, and fouled out of play. Full count to catcher Barry Lyons. Be returning home later tonight, and then taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend at Wrigley Field before departing for the West Coast. Leadoff man gets started right here on Chicago's very own Channel 9 at 2 o'clock. Ball 4. Third walk of the inning by Harkey. 1 of the intentional variety, and they're loaded up again for Kevin Elster.
The only way you get experience at the major league level is going to the mound, inning after inning. And you learn in situations like this about not trying to overthrow. That is something that Mike Harkey's doing right now. He's trying to throw the ball harder than he's capable of, and consequently, he's lost all feel for the strike zone.
Ball 1 to Kevin Elster, and now Joe Girardi's going to come out and have a brief meeting with him.
Last thing you want any pitcher to do is start aiming the ball. Anytime you do that, the plate almost starts to move on you. So Girardi going out there to try to settle him down, telling him to try to get back in the rhythm that he had the first couple of innings when he threw everything around the plate.
Elster struck out swinging to lead off in the third. Here the bases are loaded with 2 down. There's a strike to even it up at 1-1. Elster is agent 069 for the season. He was benched last night by Davey Johnson, who tried to insert a bit more offense by moving Howard Johnson over to short and putting Dave Maggin in at third. All it did was hurt his defense, and he lost 8-5. 2 down. Straw at third, Carry-On at second, Lyons at first. Sandberg will get there, and Harkey finds a way to get out of what would have been disaster here in the 4th. 1 run, no hits, 3 left. Mets lead Harkey and the Cubs 1-0 after 4. Channel 9, it's the story of a writer's struggle to survive in the Florida wilderness. Mary Steenburgen stars in the film biography of Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, Cross Creek, tonight at 7 on Chicago's very own Channel 9. We're struggling to survive in the Big Apple, much less the Florida wilderness. Cubs looking for a sweep, trailing 1-0 as we go to the 5th. Girardi bounced to the second baseman Jeffries in his only trip. brought up the fact between innings, Steve, that as now Girardi gets nailed on the wrist. And you know he is in some serious pain.
Especially getting hit by a fastball. I don't believe that Dwight Gooden in a 1-0 game is throwing at Joe Girardi. But he gets this fastball in a little too tight and bounces right off the wrist of Girardi, who is a tough guy. Watch it one more time. Carrion got hit by a breaking ball, so he couldn't interpret that as throwing at any of their hitters. But Girardi winds up at first carrying the tying run.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think he's throwing at anybody, but the Mets didn't retaliate last night. When Greg Maddux hit a batter, there goes the runner, and he is in there. And this is exactly what we talked about a couple of days ago. Not only the fact that Lyons really didn't have a shot on this particular opportunity, but catchers in this day and age have got to throw out guys like Joe Girardi.
Not when you get this kind of a jump against Dwight Gooden, because that's what Gooden gives you. And every chance you get, you have got to run. Lyons had no chance, made a terrible throw, and Joe Girardi steps up with his second stolen base of the year.
But more times than not, we're seeing base stealers against Met catching, and not to pick on these guys by any means, but we've seen situations where they've had opportunities. You're not going to throw out the Colemans and the Hendersons and those kind of guys, but got to find a way to get the others. Good run by Harkey. So the Cubs have Joe Girardi 90 feet away from tying up his ball game.
Doesn't matter who you are, if you're hit by a pitch and you have any speed at all, the only way you can get back at the pitcher is try to steal a base. Girardi did that. He finds himself at third, and the Cubs have an opportunity. That was a fine bunt by Harkey. Number one, he's got a tough man to bunt against, and Gooden, who's throwing 95, but also he bunted it in the exact spot he had to bunt it, right at Howard Johnson. Made him field the ball and gave all kinds of room to Girardi to go to third and back of him.
Mets infield drawn in. As Doc Gooden trying to keep the hand warm with Girardi at third. Walton looking for his first RBI of the season. Be a good time for it. 0-1. Good hook.
You know that Dwight Gooden has to have confidence in Barry Lyons, because you don't throw a curveball with a man at third base unless you're convinced your catcher can pick it out of the dirt.
Walton is 0 for 1, has also drawn a walk. Now in a hole at 0-2. And again, Gooden comes back with a curveball.
He's throwing the breaking ball down on the first couple of pitches because he wants that ground ball. You don't bring the infield in and throw a lot of high fastballs, because that invites the sacrifice fly.
0-2 to Walton with just one out and a runner at third. Thought about it and wisely laid off. Count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Girardi at third, and the Cubs trailing the Mets 1-0. Got into the seats in a hurry. Hope somebody's all right down there. I don't know if you got a chance, Steve, to see that foul ball that Darnell Coles hit. Broke the little girl's jaw, and boy, that almost turned into a real tragedy.
Thought it was very nice of Darnell Coles to go visit her and then bring her a lot of souvenirs, get her tickets to the game. He was very concerned.
It'll get through for a base hit. Coming home to score is Joe Girardi. Walton, his first RBI of the year, and just like that, the Cubs have answered the 1 run by the Mets in the bottom of the 4th to knot it up here in the 5th.
Good piece of hitting by Jerome Walton. First, he takes the first 3 curveballs, 1 out of the zone, then fights off a good fastball. And this is another curve that he just goes right back up the middle. With the infield in, there's no angles on the ground ball. And just like that, Mike Harkey has found himself with a brand new game to work on.
Good speed over at first in Walton for Sandberg, who's 0 for 2. Has bounced to Johnson and grounded to the second baseman, Greg Jeffries. There goes Walton, pitch out. And they won't get him. Make it now 21 out of 22 against the Mets pitchers and catchers in stealing bases.
It's a sad state of affair for Dave Johnson when you can guess right on the pitch out and still not get the man. They've got everything going for them. A good pitch to throw, and Barry Lyons doesn't get off much of a throw. He throws it to the first base side of second, Watch the jump even on the pitch out as Gooden uses that high leg kick, and it costs him yet another stolen base with Ripley on the call.
Sandberg looking for RBI number 7. He is tied with Andre Dawson. And that one hit Walton. It rolls into center field. And now the Cubs have another runner at third. What in the world happened there?
It looked to me like a mistake on the part of Gooden. This is a daylight pickoff, and yet Elster was not between Walton and the bag. You can see right here. Gooden turns around. If your shortstop is not between the base runner and the bag, there is no balk to second. You can just hold it. But Gooden, with a poor decision, wound up bouncing it off Walton, and it goes as an E1.
Again, the Mets infield drawn in. It's 1-0 to Sandberg with just one down and a runner at third. Misses way high at end, 2-0. Lloyd McClendon also has 6 RBIs to finish that thought. All 3 even atop the Cubs list.
You don't get to Gooden too much emotionally, but that was a frustration fastball. Without a lot of thought, he threw it as hard as he could.
No play to the plate. Holding at third is Walton. Fine knockdown by Dave Magadan. 2 retired in the inning. And here comes Dwight Smith.
Left fielder, Dwight Smith.
And you wonder how long it's going to be until Smitty decides to lay one down. This would be a good opportunity to do it, although you've got a very good fielding pitcher in Gooden on the mound. We'll see where Magadan sets up. You know Jeffries is going to be back. Magadan is playing a couple steps in back of the bag at first.
Ojo about even with the bag, now a step or 2 in front. 1-0 to Dwight Smith, who is 0 for 1. Popped out to short in the first. Walked and was stranded, and then, or walked rather, advanced to second, and then elected to try and advance from second to third on a ground ball hit right at Elster. He threw on to Johnson to knock him off. 1-1. Outfield shaded a bit towards left for Smith. That would have been a good-looking pitch to take the other way with Johnson hugging the line over at third. Does so this time, but it'll reach the seats. And the count goes to 1 ball now and 2 strikes on Dwight Smith.
Carrion had his adventures yesterday in left field on a ball. The whole Met outfield, in fact, Strawberry misjudged one. He came on flying at the end to make the catch. It's a tough night.
He struck him out looking to end the inning. Third strikeout for Dwight Gooden, but the Cubs knot things up on a base hit, 1 left through 4 1/2. 1-1 game. Director Arnie Harris and Steve Stone, Tom Brenneman back at Shea Stadium in New York. Want to know the count on Dwight Gooden in a 1-1 game. And the count quickly evens to 1-1 as he fouls it out of play.
Understand that your partner over on the radio side had some adventures yesterday with a foul ball. Mr. Sano used to be able to field those.
Tell you what, won a lot of gold gloves, but he had one heck of a time with that one, including a bruised hand. That ball's hit well. Dawson reaches up to make the catch. Turned one way, went back the other way, and was able to reach up and haul it in.
Fine play by Andre Dawson, who got fooled by the wind and was fooled by the fact that this ball almost went out of the park. Dwight Gooden hits it very hard, and Dawson turns the other way to make the catch on the track. Turned out to be a fine play by Dawson. I think he was surprised how far that ball carried.
Absolutely. Not the kind of play, though, getting back to Sano we saw last night. A rocket back up into the booth, reached up to try and make the play. Crushed the palm of his hand. Also, totally dismantled his watch. I mean, took it from the face down and just ripped his band in 2. 1-1 to Greg Jeffries. Harry was all over him. Jeffries is 0 for 2, struck out looking and lined to right.
Well, you know, Ron's a rookie in this business, and as he matures and gets a little more confident in the booth, he'll be able to make those plays.
No, if he gets any maturity in the booth, he'll learn to duck.
There's no doubt about that.
Because I can tell you one guy that's not going to try and catch the ball in that booth. That's why I'm hoping for a little help from guys like Sano, you, and Brentley. 2-2 now to Greg Jeffries. 1-1 game. We're in the bottom of the fifth, one out.
Well, as Harry always says, come out from under the counter, I'll protect you. And if you believe that, I've got some land for you.
I bet you do. There's a base hit in the left field.
Jeffries worked on something interesting in the wintertime. There's a tennis machine that lights up. It's got 6 different lights. And when they do light up, you have to brake to one side or the other, back to one side or the other, or go forward or backward. And he used that machine to try to quicken his reflexes at second base. They felt that's one of the problems is his footwork, and he worked long and hard on trying to improve himself. So he is working hard, but he's still having some problems defensively at second.
That ball will get away from Girardi, and on to second base is Greg Jeffries.
That's a play that Girardi should have made. I don't know what they're going to rule it, but it looks like it should be a pass ball. Joe just misses it. It wasn't in the dirt, and he sees it go by him. And you've got to make that play.
It is indeed scored as a pass ball. Keith Miller, 0 for 1, has scored a run. Jeffries in scoring position with 1 down. Fouled out of play. Count 1 ball and 1 strike on the young Mets center fielder. Seems like Jeffries has been on the base pass this entire season. Got on 3 of 5 times last night. 5 of 7 times he reached either by walk, error, or base hit. That came the night before. 2-1.
There's no doubt that he's going to hit 300 this year. This young man has too many tools offensively. If you can take that ball out away from you, drive it into left field, and have enough pop to pull the ball, you're going to be a tough hitter. And they knew that all the way along. That's why it surprised him when he got off to such a terrible start last year.
3-1, and Harkey still having trouble getting the ball down when he's working from the stretch.
You know, it's interesting because most guys, when they warm up in the bullpen or throw between starts, they just don't work from the stretch. Almost exclusively, they work from a windup, and yet most of every game, you're in the stretch position.
Runner at second, 3-1 pitch, and ball 4. Harkey has now walked 4, all of them in the last 2 innings. 3 walks led to a run in the 4th.
So far, no activity in the bullpen for the Cubs, although Jeff Pico was throwing earlier. And Harkey in a jam, facing the heart of the order in Johnson and Strawberry.
Howard Johnson is 0 for 2. And here's a pitch. Again, it's upstairs, 1-0.
Normally, you don't associate a lot of movement with Johnson at bat, but Harkey will have to vary his looks at second base. This is the fastest combination the Mets can put on the bases with Jeffries and Miller. They will not hesitate to double steal as Dick Pole now comes out to give his bullpen a chance to get loose. Once again, it is Jeff Pico. And it looks like Kramer, the left-hander, has joined him.
Pico had a nightmarish type outing in Chicago in that 10-1 Mets romp over the Cubs Monday afternoon at Wrigley Field. He served up 6 runs on 5 hits in only 1 2/3 innings pitched. All of them came in that 6-run Mets 7th. What a telling tale that stat is right there. 29 left on base in this series, and keep in mind the Mets stranded 10 runners in innings 8, 9, 10, and 11. Check that 9, 10, 11, and 12 in the 13-inning affair on Tuesday night.
It's Paul Ossenmacher, the left-hander, throwing in the bullpen.
First and second, one out. 1-0 count to Johnson, and now it's 2-0. Harkey having a tough time throwing strikes right now as Pico and Assenmacher continue to loosen.
Harkey does not have a lot of confidence in his straight change. This would be a great time for anything but a fastball.
You got that right as he hammers it fair down the right field line. Jeffries will score. Getting the green light is Miller. He's coming from third and will score easily. The Mets are in front 3-1 on Howard Johnson's two-run double to right.
And this is what happens when a young pitcher falls behind and has to throw a fastball in a fastball situation. Harkey gets it up. Johnson hits it right on the button, driving in runs 9 and 10 this year. And a speedy combination of Jeffries and Miller putting the Mets up by 2.
And again, to reiterate, of those 10 RBIs from Howard Johnson this season, 8 of them have come against the Cubs. So now Don Zimmer will make a pitching change as he'll first check in with home plate umpire Bruce Fremming. That more than likely means a double switch, but that's not for sure. Let's see as Zimmer comes out to the mound. That's exactly what he'll do. Marvell Wynn will replace Dwight Smith in left field. And not quite sure which pitcher will be on for Mike Harkey. So the big right-hander looked brilliant early on. He retired the first 5 he faced before a base hit, then retired 4 in a row, but got into trouble throwing balls in the 4th. It'll be Paul Assenmacher coming on. Will step out with the Mets in front, 3-1.
Marvell Wynn will take over in left field. He'll hit in the spot vacated by Mike Harkey, and Paul Assenmacher will be inserted in Dwight Smith's spot. And Assenmacher comes into the ball game at 1-0, the ERA 1.17, on for the 5th time. 7 2/3 innings. He's given up a couple of hits and 1 earned run on a homer. He's walked 4, he's fanned 5. He inherits Howard Johnson at second base. Only 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And tough Darryl Strawberry due up.
Mets only have 3 base hits. But the problem for Harkey getting the ball across the plate after he sailed along through the first 3. In the next inning and a third, he walked 4, 1 intentionally. And it led to trouble here in the 5th inning. After a 1-out single by Jeffries, he walked Miller to put 2 aboard, and Johnson cleared the bases with a double down the right field line. So Marvell now in left. And here's Straw with Johnson at second base, and the Mets in front 3-1, 1 down. Johnson leads at second base, and here's the first pitch to the slugger Strawberry. Waves through it, 0-1.
Darryl took Joe Kramer out of the ballpark on the first pitch yesterday, but Strawberry has had problems with left-handers. If you can keep the ball down and away and throw that breaking ball over, then it sets up the high, tight fastball, which he just doesn't hit.
0-1 pitch, a little bit low to even things up at 1-1. Strawberry only a .219 batter against Southpaws a year ago. Count goes to 1-2.
Much like Wrigley Field in a 3:05 game, the pitcher now in bright sunlight and the hitter immersed in the shadows. So it becomes very difficult to pick up the spin on any breaking ball. That's to the advantage of Paul Assenmacher if he can get one over.
1-2 to Strawberry with Johnson at second base and 1 down in the inning. Here's a pitch. Dunston got a gift hop, and he'll throw him out. That ball was hit right on the numbers, but slowed down when it hit the grass.
Howard Johnson took a gamble, but then again, this ball was in back of him. Watch it again. Strawberry hits the ball hard, and the hop right to Dunston. If this ball doesn't come up, it's going to be a tough play. He throws Strawberry out at first, but on the play, Johnson moves to third.
So 2 down now in the inning for Mark Carrion, who popped out to first and then was hit by a pitch by Harkey in the 4th. Taken in, ball 1. Carrion has knocked home 4, all 4 against the Cubs.
I would think you'd have to be very careful with Carrion here, who's got home run power. You've got the left-hander due up in Magadan.
Johnson at third. Went too far to even things up at 1 ball and 1 strike.
Perhaps in the back of his mind, Don Zimmer is saying, if I walk Carrion, I've got to deal with either McReynolds or Marshall, neither of whom I'd like to see, so he's going to take his chances with Carrion.
Ossenmacher gets a sign from Girardi, working from the stretch. 1-2 now. Carrion 6 hits in his last 16 at bats. He's a tough out. Went too far. Girardi now will just have to make the throw to Grace. And he does. So a good job by Ossenmacher in relief of Harkey, but the Mets come up with 2 runs on 2 base hits and strand a runner. New York 3, Cubs 1 after 5. Mets 3, Cubs 1 as we go to the 6th inning, and Dwight Gooden for the first time spotted to a 2-run lead. Has not been the typical Gooden, although he has managed to get out of some tight jams. The Cubs have stranded 5 base runners through 5 innings, 2 in the 4th. It'll be Mark Grace followed by Andre Dawson and then Domingo Ramos. Grace 0 for 2, twice his bounce to Greg Jeffries. Johnson in at third. 1-1.
Longest outing for Gooden this year, 4 2/3, opening day against Pittsburgh.
Sweeping breaking ball as Grace missing. It goes to 1-2.
How do you like these planes? Nice, huh?
Think the world of them, as a matter of fact. 2-2, but I'm trying to figure out who you said the major was flying that plane a little bit earlier today.
Can't remember.
Can't either. Line down the right field line for a base hit, but Strawberry able to cut it off to keep Grace to a single. 4th base hit for the Cubs.
And a good piece of hitting by Mark Grace, who grounded out twice to Jeffries, and that time hit the ball right on the nose. So the Cubs not rolling over for Dwight Gooden. They're still trying to peck away.
Gooden 18-3 in his career against Cubs batters, and that is not too shabby at all. A 3.12 ERA, including 3-0 last year with a 3.68 ERA in 4 games. Still has the heat on the fastball, though it's low to Dawson, who's 0 for 2.
He doesn't give up many long balls, only 1 this year, but if you can get the head of the bat out and guess fastball, it'll go a long way. He is throwing mighty hard today.
The Hawk capable of getting that done. It would knot things up if he could take him out of here. 1-1 the count. Mark Grace, a leadoff single here in the 6th, is now the Cubs once again must play catch up. 1-1 pitch to Dawson. Fouled out of play. Gooden ahead, 1 ball and 2 strikes. The last time out, Gooden pitched against Montreal on April the 14th, only lasted 3 innings. Surrendered 7 hits. All 5 runs were earned. Struck out a pair and walked a batter. Today he has 3 Ks. Has only walked 2. There goes a runner. And down goes Dawson. Grace into second base, standing up.
That one stolen on Dwight Gooden. No chance at all for Barry Lyons. Gooden completely forgot about Grace. Mark took advantage of it. And so Grace once again, like he did at the beginning of last year, surprising some people. 4 stolen bases. He has not been caught.
Grace in scoring position. Let's see if Domingo Ramos can get him home. He's had a perfect afternoon. 2 for 2, an infield single and a single to right. Breaking ball in, 1-0.
You know, only 5 other pitchers this century have had as many victories as Dwight Gooden before his 25th birthday. Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Bob Feller, and a man I know you're familiar with, Frank Noodles Hahn.
Those aren't some bad names. That's not bad company to be in. And it certainly says how much Gooden has gotten done in a very short time, and keeping in mind the fact that last year was pretty much a bust because he was only 9-4 before suffering arm trouble.
I don't want to leave out Smokey Joe Wood, but how do you get a nickname like Noodles? No nicknames like that
Well, you're the
anymore.
restaurant guy. Perhaps you could come up with that answer. You ever ask yourself questions and then find yourself answering them? I've been doing it all week in New York.
Arnie Harris and I, who have not had very good luck with cabs, we had a wreck in Montreal, an altercation here in New York a few years back, and we've had pretty good luck. 2 cabs together. Not much excitement except a missed turn today by the driver.
Is that about an extra $8? Ramos hanging around. They count 1 ball and 2 strikes with Grace at second, and the Cubs down 3-1.
You should have seen Arnie and I waiting in the cab for 20 minutes to see who was going to pay first.
Yeah, I bet. Well, you know, you took care of me that night in the town in Chicago last week, and then you take me to this deli. Swing and a miss. Down goes Ramos, but Gray steals now his 5th of the year.
Dwight Gooden still throwing great stuff, but not paying any attention to the base runners. A good curveball. Again, Barry Lyons can only watch Grace helplessly.
Five strikeouts now for the doctor, and here is Sean Dunston. A strikeout victim his first trip, fly to center to end the 4th with 2 aboard. Let's see if he can get it done here in the 6th. 0-1.
I think this shows you what a good hitter Mark Grace is, and the fact that he's left-handed doesn't hurt against Doc Gooden. But I don't think the guys are seeing the ball all that well. Dawson and Ramos both missed the breaking ball by a foot.
0-1 delivery with Grace at third. 0-2 now to Dunston. The New York native being flustered by Dwight Gooden. But hopefully he can turn it around and make it a 3-2 ball game with Grace over at third and 2 outs in the inning. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Out of play. It'll stay right there. The last time the Cubs were 3-game winners their first trip to Shea Stadium, you have to go back to May of 1970. It's been a long time. Trailing by 2 here. Should be the 3rd out. And is. No runs a hit. 1 left. Through 5.5. Grace and the troops trailing 3-1. On we go to the bottom half of the 6th inning, with the Mets in front 3-1. The traffic is light now, but give it about an hour.
Just about the time we're ready to head off to the airport, fly back to Chicago.
It'll be Dave Magadan, followed by Barry Lyons, and then Kevin Elster. Magadan 1 for 1, and then delivered a sac fly RBI to get the Mets on the board in the 4th inning. Assenmacher back out there in relief of Harkey, and the count evens at 1-1.
Tim Tuffle was a free agent. He re-signed with the Mets because he thought that Dave Magadan and him would platoon at first base in the absence of Keith Hernandez. But they upset the apple cart when they signed Mike Marshall.
There's a strike, 1-2. Big story today in the Cincinnati papers. Rumors to the effect that either Ron Robinson, perhaps even Ron Oster, who's been around there a long time, maybe even Danny Jackson, some other names in the hat, going to be dealt later today. Should be interesting to find out. Could be just rumors with one down here in the Met 6, but at least they're starting to swirl.
Lou Piniella was pretty confident about his ball club, but I don't think anybody believed they'd get off to an 8-0 start. So now that they realize that they are a legitimate contender, and when everybody sees the trouble San Francisco is having with every facet of the game, they might feel it's time to shore up that ball club and get what they feel they need to be there in September.
Well, of course, the Reds have made it no secret at all that they have been interested in Greg Smith of the Cubs. And if Ron Oster is indeed a guy that they're going to get rid of, they have to have a guy to back up Mariano Duncan at second base. The Cubs say that nothing's going on, and you have to believe that because they have not misled us in the past, so we'll just have to wait and see. But something might be happening in Cincinnati. Off to an 8-0 start off today, however. Mike Harkey, the starter, but only lasted 4 1/3 innings. 2-1 to Barry Lyons, who is 0 for 1, is also walked.
It's hard to believe that anybody in the league has gotten off to a better start for a combination than Mariano Duncan and Barry Larkin. Larkin hitting everything in sight, and Duncan right behind him.
Larkin at the 600 mark now. Fly ball to center field. Walton will have a beat on it, 2 down.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has a right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is prohibited.
Another stellar job. Breaking ball to Kevin Elster. A strike. He's 0 for 2, is struck out and bounced into a fielder's choice. Mets in front 3-1 with 2 down here in the 6th. And now it's 0-2.
Assenmacher throwing the ball well, and he realizes in the role that he's asked to perform today, he cannot allow the Mets anything more because Gooden has gone into high gear, and they've got John Franco waiting in the wings.
Count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Elster off to a very slow start offensively. He can pick it with the best of them in the National League, with the exception perhaps of Ozzie Smith. Down he goes on strikes. A 1-2-3 inning for Paul Assenmacher. Harry Carey's coming back in the 7th with the Mets in front after 6. 3-1.
Steve Stone, Harry Carey. Back at Chase Stadium where the Mets are leading 3-1. Joe Girardi will lead it off. He scored a tying run in the 5th. Made it 1-1. But then Howard Johnson lined a double to right to put him ahead 3-1 in the bottom half. Here's Girardi, the pitch. Boy, oh boy, it's hard to see around that plate area.
I think it's very difficult for a right-hander to pick up the spin on the breaking ball with Dwight Gooden. The Mets were not picking up the spin on anything that Paul Assenmacher threw, and guys have been swinging way over that Gooden curveball.
Now the pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Whether it be in Chicago or whether it be in New York, it seems at 3 o'clock starting time. It's not a very good idea. The players don't like it. They can't see the ball. And I don't think the fans get their money's worth out of the ball game.
More times than not, Harry, it seems like it's almost a 5-inning game. Who's ever ahead, the lead seems insurmountable.
There's some pitch inside, almost hit him. 2-2. We're in the 7th. Ball 3 is high.
Jeff Pico throwing in the bullpen for the Cubs. Paul Assenmacher is due up after Sandberg. He's hitting in the spot vacated by Dwight Smith.
Now the pitch. He fouled it back. 3-2. Boy, it's amazing the record of the Mets catchers. They've only thrown one man out trying to steal. There's the pitch foul back.
You can understand it with Gooden on the mound, Harry, because he just forgets all about the base runner, gives him all kinds of room, but everybody's running against Met catching this year.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Ground ball to the shortstop. Elster throws in time. 1 away. And here's Marvell Wynn, who replaced Dwight Smith. Boy, a tough play in the 4th inning. When Dwight Smith tried to advance from 2nd to 3rd, and the ball hit in front of him to the shortstop. He was thrown out. Ramos' base hit that followed should have scored the first Cub run. Should have tied it at 1-1. Then the Cubs scored one in the 5th, which just tied the game. Easily could have had them ahead. But then the Mets got 2 in the bottom of the 5th and lead 3-1. He had a swing. 1 ball, 1 strike.
So far, no activity in the bullpen for Davy Johnson, so he believes that Dwight Gooden is feeling pretty strong today. This, far and away, his longest performance of the year.
He had a swing in the middle. Marvell Wynn, who won yesterday's ball game, with a 4-run triple, really. He drove in 3 runs with his triple and scored the 4th run. Now the pitch, fouled out of play.
Cubs have done one thing this year that ensures them a pretty competitive ball club, and that is shore up the bench. The late season deal last year for Salazar and Wynn provides a couple of quality players for Jim Fry, who's done a good job of assembling what might be the best bench in the division.
There's a pitch, a wild one, goes all the way back to this backstop. Mike Bilecki tomorrow against Walt Terrell. A 2:20 game in Wrigley Field. A night game Saturday night, Steve Wilson against John Smiley. Ball is high, ball 3. There's Bilecki. He'll be pitching tomorrow night against his old teammates. 3-2. Struck him out swinging. Bilecki will be facing tomorrow Walt Terrell.
Cubs would like to see a little help as far as a base on balls occasionally from Dwight Gooden. He's walked a couple, hit 1 man, and that man scored the only Cub run when he hit Girardi to lead off the 5th.
There's Jerome Walton, who drove the run in with a single to center in the 5th inning. Jerome has been on twice today with a walk and an RBI single. And a cut, and he fouls it back.
The Mets don't do a whole lot of shifting on the field. They play everyone pretty much straight away, especially with Gooden on the mound.
1-1 pitch. Curve is in there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Gooden going for his first victory of the year. Tapped it foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Davy Johnson, the man in a fishbowl. You got a picture of him and Walton going back. He cracked his bat on that inside fastball. Mel Stottlemyre to Johnson's right. Pretty good pitching coach.
And a pretty good pitcher in his day with the Yankees.
Musselman, the left-hander, up in the bullpen for the Mets.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Outside, 2-2. The Cubs have had only 4 hits, but the Mets have had only 3. Struck him out. 1, 2, 3. The 7th strikeout for Gooden. We go to the bottom of the 7th. 3-1 in favor of the Mets. Harry Carey back at Shea, 18,780 paid today.
The Cubs won't have to worry about Dwight Gooden anymore because Tim Tuffle is coming on to pinch hit for him. He's 1 for 2 as a pinch hitter, 333 overall. No home runs or RBIs.
Tim Tuffle batting for Gooden, who in his 7 innings allowed only 4 hits and 1 run. Fans 7. Hit 1, walked a couple. His best showing of the new season. Coming in this game, he had a earned run average of 11.74. Assenmacher was retired 5 men in a row. Slow curve in there to even the count, a ball and a strike. You know, the Mets have a long schedule. Here's a pitch, strike 2 call. He started the swing, tried to stop.
It's Franco and Musselman, 2 left-handers throwing in the bullpen for the Mets.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The delivery, low. While the Cubs are playing most of their games on the road, the first month or so of the season. Strike 3 call. Tuffle called out on strike. 3 strikeouts for Assenmacher.
Second baseman, Jeffries.
Cubs will only have 7 home games in all of April. In fact, 7 home games until May 4th. So if they can just stay around the 500 mark or a couple games above, they're going to be in pretty good shape through this early season away streak.
Here's Jeffries, the first pitch, a strike call. The Mets, on the other hand, have most of their games at home during that period. One ball, 1 strike. 3-1 Mets. Fouled it out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Assenmacher trying to top a very good run at it. 6 straight retired since coming in relief of Mike Harkey in the 5th inning.
He struck him out. You notice how everybody's striking out. That proves they can't see the ball.
Very difficult, Harry. Whoever's ahead at the end of 5, as soon as the shadows completely engulf the home plate area, visibility becomes a problem.
2 men out. Here's Keith Miller. He's walked twice and scored twice. Howard Johnson would be next. There's a pitch a little outside. 7 in a row have been retired by Assenmacher. There's a curveball in there.
I think the game plan for Davy Johnson was obvious. If they scored a couple of runs, he'd use Musselman. But if it stayed where it's at 3-1, he'll go with Franco, who's now the only man throwing in the bullpen.
He struck him out. Miller, the Assenmacher, struck out the side. And that's 5 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings for Asemacher. At the end of 7, 3-1 Mets. Harry Carey back at Chase Stadium. John Franco will be the new pitcher. Tom O'Malley will be playing third.
Now at third base, batting third, number 27, Tom O'Malley.
What town is that? With all that graffiti?
The graffiti capital of the country.
Yeah.
As John Franco comes in. Franco on for his 4th appearance. No record, a 2.70 ERA with a couple of saves. And the Cubs saw him in the 11th inning of the first game of this series. He gave up a run on 2 hits.
As a matter of fact, the Cardinals and the Cubs give Franco a lot of trouble. Play into the right field corner.
Franco says he's very happy to be back in his hometown. He throws a good moving fastball and a what's called a circle changeup.
Doc in 7 innings struck out 7, walked 2, hit 1, allowed 1 run. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count on Ryan Sandberg.
If Franco does go with that changeup, it's going to be awfully hard for anybody to pick up, especially if he uses that same arm speed.
Into the dirt.
Harry, I'll tell you what I'm surprised at. With the limited visibility around home plate, and it is dark down there, I'm surprised they don't have the lights on here. Give the hitters a better look. Of course, I guess the Mets wouldn't ask for it with the 2-run lead already.
He struck him out. So Franco fans the first man he faces. McClendon's going to bat here for Asemacher. Asemacher was brilliant. In 2 2/3 innings, he fanned 5 men, and he retired 8 in a row.
Glennon with 6 RBIs, tied for the team lead. He's got a .238 batting average. 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter.
I guess the turning on of the lights is the team's prerogative, huh? There's a drive in the right field. Strawberry there, and he makes the catch. The umpires could insist on him turning on the lights. McClendon hit the ball very hard.
Hit that ball very well, but Darryl Strawberry went back to haul it down.
2 gone.
Here's the only man that hit the ball hard against Dwight Gooden the last couple of innings, Mark Grace.
One strike to nothing. 2 men out. Franco shooting for his 3rd save.
Franco actually negotiated his new 3-year contract with the New York Mets.
Fouls it out of play. Gooden going for his first win of the year. Harkey will receive his first loss of the year.
John, as averaged 33 saves over the last 4 seasons as a member of the Cincinnati Reds.
Hey!
Pretty hard to hear in this ballpark.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Ball 3. 3-2. 2 out, nobody on. He walked him. Ball 4. So Grace is 1 out of 3 for the day. Franco walks a man.
It'll be Jeff Pico coming into the game for the Cubs, and here's the Cub opportunity to tie it up.
Andre Dawson, 0 for 3. He swings and misses. The ball gets away from Barry Lyons. And Grace, who stole a couple of bases in the 6th, advances on the play.
This will go as another pass ball for Barry Lyons, who's had a tough series defensively.
Oh, and 1 the count. Swings and he misses.
That's the changeup that he turns over. It looks just like a screwball running away from the right-hand hitter, but it's the velocity as opposed to the movement that usually fools the hitter.
0-2 the count. The Cubs will be back home at Wrigley Field tomorrow afternoon. Play the Pirates. A weekend series. There's a pitch into the dirt. 1 ball, 2 strikes. This would be another home run in the gloaming, a la Gabby Hartnett. I wonder if it was this dark when Hartnett hit that home run against Pittsburgh many, many, many years ago. He swings and fouls it back. I've had more people. I think the attendance was only about 20,000. I've had 120,000 people tell me they were there and saw it.
Well, the park was a lot bigger in those days. They had expanded the upper deck for a couple of games.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Johnny Franco. To retire this time. So we go in the bottom of the 8th, 3-1 in favor of the Mets. Harry Carey and Steve Stone as we go now into the bottom of the 8th. Jeff Pico will be the new pitcher. Harkey went 4 in the 3rd innings, allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, walked 4, hit 1, struck out 4. Assenmacher pitched 2 2/3 innings, a perfect baseball. He retired 8 in a row. 5 of them he struck out.
Jeff Pico coming on for the 3rd time. He's really struggled, an inflated ERA. He'll face Tom O'Malley. He was inserted in the ball game at 3rd base when Howard Johnson had to leave the game due to lower back spasms.
Nothing serious there, note says. Tom O'Malley. Been up before with the Giants and other clubs. Swung and he fouled it back. Montreal playing at Philadelphia tonight. The Cubs will still be leading them by half a game. If Montreal wins tonight, they'll be in a first-place tie. The Cardinals are entertaining the Pirates in St. Louis. One ball, one strike.
It's kind of a shame from a Cub perspective that Johnson didn't encounter back spasms a little earlier, because he's the difference in this game with a 2-run double in the 5th.
There's a smash up into the Sandberg over to first in time. That ball was sharply hit. One out. Sandberg is extending his errorless streak to 99 games in a row. He'll shoot for 100 tomorrow. Here's Strawberry. 0 for 2. One ball, no strikes.
Sean Dunston now moving right up the middle for Strawberry.
Curveball in there, a strike call. If the Cubs lose this one, they will be 6-4. Curve inside. One ball, one strike. 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out.
That shows you maturity and consistency at shortstop. 1 throwing error his last 77 games.
It also shows you what a great fielding first baseman you have in Mark Grace.
There's no doubt about that. He looks like a jumping jack some of the time, trying to keep his foot on the bag and stretch for the Dunston throws.
3 balls and the strike. Strawberry, who hit his first home run of the year last night. Ball 4. Here's Carry On, who's a left-hand thrower and a right-hand hitter. Kind of peculiar.
Cleon Jones, a noted New York Met, did the same thing in left field.
1 out, 1 on. Breaking ball in there for a strike call.
Probably the most famous outfielder right now that does that, as far as throwing left-handed, hitting right-handed, is Ricky Henderson.
Let's see now, is Pico and the Grace brother-in-laws?
Yes, they are.
There's a pitch fouled out of play, and they're married to beautiful sisters. So they're not only teammates, but they're brother-in-law.
Maybe they can hook up on a double play here if Pico can throw the ground ball.
0-2 the count on Carry On. Pitch outside, ball 1. Baltimore leads Detroit 4-2 in the 7th. The other games will be tonight. New York at Cleveland, Milwaukee at Texas, Seattle at Oakland. Fouls it back. Oakland has won 6 out of 7 this year. They won their last 4 in a row. They have a 4-game winning streak on the road. White Sox is second to them, 5-2. Ground ball to right of Dunston. Cannot scoop it up. There's a Strawberry going to third. Safe. I guess they'll call it a hit. It looked like he should have fielded the ball.
Even after missing this ball, Harry, he should have run after it, because by not going after the ball, he allowed Darryl Strawberry to go to third base. Dunston tries to backhand it. It scoots under his glove. Now watch. He just kind of lopes after the ball, and here comes Darryl Strawberry. No chance for Marvell Wynn And the Mets have something going here in the 8th.
Apparently, Pico is the only pitcher that can be seen up at the plate. They give Dunston an error. And an intentional pass to Magadan. Now the bases will be loaded. And Barry Lyons, the catcher, comes up with the sacks loaded. 1 out. The infield going to play back for the double play. Comes Silsky from Highland Park watching the ball game. High pop foul out of play into the stand.
Lyons has grounded into 1 double play this year. If he does hit it on the ground, he will ground into the second one. He does not have good speed.
Pitch a little bit low. Tom McCallum from Highland Park and Margot Dietz from Springfield. Here watching the ball game. Fouled it out of play. Activity in the bullpen. Wilkins getting ready. And a run score.
Pico on course his first wild pitch of the year, and this one was nowhere near Joe Girardi. He missed the plate by 1.5 feet.
They walk Magadan to fill the bases for a chance at a double play. Now they have first base open again, but they're going to pitch to Lyon. Into the dirt. Ball 3. 4-1 in favor of the Mets. Cubs about to hit them 4-3. Each team with an error. Over near the stands, out of play.
Mets scored their first run in the 4th inning without the benefit of a hit. There were 3 walks and a hit batsman in that inning as Mike Harkey got out of it because nobody hit the ball very hard. Once again here in the 8th, they've scored a run, this time without hitting the ball out of the infield.
3 balls, 2 strikes. He fouls it into the stands again. Infield in. Cubs trailing by 3. Bottom of the 8th. Again, he fouls it into the stands on the first base side. Every foul ball has been in that direction. A high fly ball will be caught by thrown for 8 in the series. He's fanned twice today. Baltimore still leads Detroit 4-2 at the end of 7. 1 ball, no strikes. Boy, for 3 innings, this was a great pitching duel. Then in the 4th, it looked as if Harkey was beginning to get in trouble, and in the 5th, on Howard Johnson's 2-run double, they took a 3-1 lead. Now it's 4-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two balls and a strike.
This Met team has got some problems because they don't have a dynamic offense to this point, and the defense gives away a couple of runs a game. So they're going to have to rely on just outstanding pitching, which is tough to do every day.
That evens it up 2-2. Elster, a fine defensive shortstop, who has hit much better than he has so far this year. He's only 2 out of 32. He struck him out for the 3rd time today. 1 run without a hit. 2 men left. 1 error. At the end of 8, the Mets lead 4-1. Harry Carey and Steve Stone with Tom Brenneman as we go down to the top of the 9th. And look at here, Eureka, they have turned on the light.
It's been darker than this throughout the last couple innings. I'm surprised they waited till now.
There's a pitch, fouled out of play into the right field corner. Domingo Ramos has 2 out of 3.
It brightens things up considerably around home plate, so maybe now they'll have a good shot at John Franco.
Franco in his 2nd inning of work. A little bit low and inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mets lead 4-1. He tried to check his swing. He fouls the pitch off. 2 strikes and a ball.
Franco not one of these big overpowering relievers like Rob Dibble. He's 5'10", 185 pounds, out of St. John's University, the same university that produced Frank Viola. But Franco has good movement on his fastball and a very good change.
Fouled him off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. We're in the 9th. The Cubs have won the first 2 games of the series, are trailing 4-1. Struck him out. That's Franco's 3rd strikeout.
Good breaking ball. It buckled the knees of Domingo Ramos and snapped over the inside corner.
There's Sean Dunston. Dunston, 1 out of 12 in the series. The Cubs can't complain about this series. A lot of the guys not hitting much. Yet the team scored 8 runs in each of the first 2 games. Try the bunt. And he missed. 4 games have been played between these two teams this year. The Mets won 10-1 in Chicago. The Cubs won 8-6 in 13 innings, 8-5 yesterday. And the Mets are leading 4-1, so they would have split the first 4 games this year. 1 out. It is kind of strange that the Cubs and the Mets. He struck it out. Dunston playing before the home folks is going to be tickled to death to get back to Chicago. He hasn't hit a lick since 1962. That is 28 years ago. Since then, the Mets have beaten the Cubs. If they win this game 252 times, the Mets have lost to the Cubs 250 times. Pretty close competition. 1 ball, 1 strike. Joe Girardi. There's a drive in the right field, and this game is over. Franco picks up his 3rd save. The Cubs have taken the series 2 out of 3. Doc Gooden has won his first game of the season. And we'll be back with the total to the 4-1 Mets victory following this message. The Bud Dry play of the game, of course, it is Howard Johnson's 2-run double down the right field line against Mike Harkey, which decided this ball game. And that came in the 5th inning. The Bud Dry play of the game. Well, for 3 or 4 innings, it was quite a ball game, but then it looked like Harkey just lost it.
Dwight Gooden 0-2 coming into this one, and now 19-3 against the Cubs. You knew it was only a matter of time until he turned it around. He turned it around today.
I'll be back now with the totals in a moment. Well, the Cubs win 2 out of 3 in New York from the New York Mets. The Mets, though, salvaged the final game of the series, winning here today 4-1. The totals are, for the Mets, 4 runs, only 3 hits and 1 error. The winner is Doc Gooden. That was his first victory of the year. He now has won 1 and lost 2. John Franco picks up his 3rd save in the new season. For the Cubs, only 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error. The loser is Mike Harkey. His record now is even for the year. He has won 1 and lost 1. Remember, tomorrow, the Cubs open a series against the Pirates at Wrigley Field, 2:20 game time, Chicago time. With Tom Brenneman and Steve Stone, this is Harry Carey at Chase Stadium in New York, where some 18,780 watch the New York Mets finally win the last game of the series by the score of 4-1 from the Chicago Cubs. Hope you enjoyed the telecast. So long, everybody. Stay tuned now for the 10th inning show that Steve will have in a moment. Cubs baseball is produced and directed by Arnie Harris. Coordinating producer, Bill Morrison. The final score, the Mets 4, the Cubs 1. Our next telecast will be tomorrow afternoon when the Cubs take on the Pittsburgh Pirates with a leadoff man show at 2 o'clock. Harry Carey in New York. So long, everybody.